Welcome to Get Strong with Kaizzad. This series is dedicated to shoulders, technically called as the deltoid group. The first exercise that I want to take up, which is almost a lift, is the overhead press with dumbbells, the standing overhead press with dumbbells. Popularly called as a shoulder press. I will explain why I don't like calling it the shoulder press. I like calling it the overhead press. If you remember the previous episodes, and if you remember that anything that you do, you have to do with the entire body, you'll be seeing that even in what you all call as the shoulder press and what I call as the overhead press. The overhead press can be done with obviously dumbbells or barbells. Today we are focusing on the dumbbell overhead press. Kamlesh, as usual, I start the episodes off by showing you an execution of a perfect set. So watch Kamlesh do it and then I'll comment on it. Simply observe everything that he does. Okay, Kamlesh, start. Give me 5 reps. Okay, that's it. So wasn't really what you expected, was it? All the time you've been told to do movements strictly. And this particular movement is something that is termed as a cheat movement. Well, it's not a cheat movement. In fact, when somebody does an overhead press or lifts or heaves objects overhead without the help from the legs, somebody like me who understands strength can't really understand as to why you would not want to use your legs. People keep on talking about functional training. You don't need a separate set of exercises called as functional training exercise. Every exercise can be made functional. What are the requirements for making an exercise functional? Well, it needs to be done without support, unsupported. It needs to be compound, that is multi-joint. It needs to be done while using the entire body and not just isolated body parts. That is the reason why I told you all I am not going to call this the shoulder press, because this exercise is not done purely by the shoulders. It is actually done by the entire body. The leg strength is used. If you remember, I used to mention about the kinetic chain. Strength for whatever you do comes from the ground up, and that is exactly what he's doing. He's deriving power from the legs and pushing the weight up with his shoulders and triceps. He's using his entire body. This exercise is done to teach you the skill of hoisting heavier and heavier weights over your head and stabilizing your body at the same time. I hope you all remember the significance and the importance of a setup. I've always told you that a setup is extremely crucial, and what you're going to see right now is the setup of an overhead press. Now, the setup in an overhead press actually has got tremendous significance because the movement actually starts with the dumbbells hoisted on top of your shoulders. If you're training alone, the amount of weight with which you will be able to exercise will be limited by the amount of weight that you're going to be able to take on your shoulders. If somebody hands the dumbbells to you, probably you're capable of 100-pound dumbbells. But if those 100-pound dumbbells cannot be lifted by you on your own, onto your shoulder, how are you going to do it if you're alone? So cleaning the weight and getting that dumbbell on top of the shoulder is extremely crucial for you to be able to exert your shoulder and your leg strength. Watch the setup. Kamlesh, just the setup. Remember, the exercise is going to start from the top. That is, the eccentric phase will be first. Hence, the dumbbells which are now on the bench will have to be hoisted right overhead with arms extended for the exercise to start. And that's the importance of the setup. I repeat again, if you can't get those dumbbells up, you can't press them. See where he's placed the dumbbells? Go. Now that was fast and quick, and it has to be fast and quick, but I'm going to run you through the steps. Okay, this is the easiest, most efficient way of getting the dumbbells up. Remember, the exercise starts now, and hence you want to use minimum amount of strength and you want to use maximum amount of technique to get those dumbbells up so that all the strength is reserved for the productive reps that you're going to do. Now Kamlesh, if you were not to be taught this technique, or if you didn't know this technique, it's 40 pounds, it's a sub-maximal weight for you, right? So how would you normally pick them up? So a person who's not been taught them. So basically, he can get these dumbbells up. They're light enough, right? And he can get it up. Okay, Kamlesh, try something that's even more difficult. That is with more lack of technique. Can you just swing them up? I'm trying to make a point here. Swing them up. See that? He can do this as well. So then what's the great deal about the correct setup? See, that's the correct technique. Now you're off the starting block, so to speak, and now you can do the exercise. So Kamlesh, let's have 5 reps along with the setup. Takes the dumbbells off the rack, places them on his thigh, goes through the clean, and he's in the starting position. See how he uses his legs like pistons. And the last one, Kamlesh. Okay, that's it. Now, if you've seen the chest series, the breathing is essentially the same. I've mentioned about breathing, that the breathing does not change depending on exercises. The breathing remains the same. There is no breathing in or breathing out during the movement, but there is breathing in and breathing out in between the reps. So if I can just remind you again, Kamlesh, lift it up again. Just pay attention to breathing right now. Just clean the weight up, and right now he will breathe out, breathe in. Breathe out, breathe in. That's it, Kamlesh. If you want to see more eye-opening, enlightening videos like this, do subscribe to TheHealthSite.com.